Just when you thought schools couldn't get worse. Greetings, free thinkers. Welcome to the Hoggcast. How are you doing today? I hope you're doing fine. I certainly am. Excuse me. What have we got for you on today's episode? We have for you the infuriating situation of a quote-unquote teacher telling a student, a young man who's probably got a very good future ahead of him, to remove his thin blue line mask. He was wearing a mask that had thin blue line. See, this is the thing with the Democrats, the woke left in general, yeah? They force you to wear these things on your face in flagrant regard of the thing that they always talk about. You know what I mean? The science, yeah? But as soon as you put on a mask that has writing or an emblem or a sign that you support that they don't, suddenly they demand you take it off. But I thought that defeated the whole purpose, because you've been telling us it's all about, you know, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, you've got to wear one. If you don't, you will be ending grandmother and so on, to all of the other fearmongering that they used, yeah? All the other tactics that they used. But as soon as they see a thin blue line face covering, suddenly that goes out the window. Oh, you've got to take that off. Where's the logic? Where's the logic? See, this is the thing, the difference between right and left. Yeah, right, and I've said this before, right-wing people, one of the main things that those on the right have is pattern recognition. So you can, and a long memory, so you can kind of see, you can see things where things are going, yeah? And we remember that. So let's get into this video. It's only one clip to watch. It's quite a long one though, and we'll stop it intermittently to make the points that I feel I need to make about this. You'd think that teachers would be on their best behaviour, and it's shocking that you even have to say that, but you would think so with all of these clips that have come out over the last couple of years, them just behaving in the most bizarre and draconian and tyrannical ways. You'd think they'd be on their best behaviour, but obviously they're not. So we'll jump into that now, but if you haven't yet though, please like the video, subscribe to the Hoggcast, hit the notification bell and share the video around. That will help us stay competitive with, hopefully, with CNN and the other fake news networks who are promoted over independent content creators. Because we are the underdogs, we are conservative commentators. I also have a membership scheme. We now have 9 amazing, beautiful members. We had the addition of Joe. Thank you very much, Joe, for becoming member 9. And anyone else watching, if you choose to become member 10, you can do. But of course, you don't have to, okay? Let's go.
Who berated a student for wearing a thin blue line mask to honor his father, who is a police officer. Here's what happened in that classroom.
It's the new Confederacy flag.
No, it's not.
That's what you're doing. Well, we can't do the Confederate, but we can put up red, white, and blue. No, it's black, white, with some blue line in it.
Yeah, thin blue line.
Yeah, but it's not American.
What do you mean it's not American? That guy's a teacher. California, of course. No surprise there. Look at the way he's talking down to the child, right? The student. And not only that, the student, and you often see this so much more now. The student is often more able to reason than the teacher. The teacher's often highly emotional, packed full of the message, the narrative, and the student often wins the debate against the teacher, and the teacher hates it. Yeah. And remember, his father's a policeman. Imagine how insulted this poor student must feel. Yet, it's the teacher, the quote-unquote teacher, who's acting like he's offended.
Mike, it's like, what is going on there? Let me go right to you. Actually,
just quickly, I wanted to point out, you often see them shaking their heads like, I do, you do. Have you noticed how many people will see these bizarre woke clips and the way that these wokeists are behaving, and your immediate response is just to shake your head? Have you noticed how many people do that now? That should show you how far away from sanity, reason and logic the woke left have gone, right? And it's just, and over time, with time, they seem to be going faster, over the cliff faster, yeah?
On this, Alicia, this is a very good example of the madness that we very rarely see in classrooms, but now everybody, thank goodness, has their phone and their camera. What's your take on this?
Yeah, thank God that the kids had their phone, right, and were able to record on this. Otherwise, it would just be their word against this substitute teacher.
Yes. And if that happened, if it was just their word against his, you know what would happen. The teacher would consciously, willfully lie, and then the pupil, the student, would get detention or would get punished or some form of punishment, when deep down, both of them know that the teacher was in the wrong and the student was in the right. But the teacher gets away with it and the student would get punished. But like, as she said, it's good that they had the cameras, because you got to think about how many times things like this have happened when there wasn't a camera. Yeah? Think about how many times that's happened.
I find it infuriating, and I should note that the substitute teacher there, according to the mom of that kid who was wearing that mask, the principal said that he's no longer going to be working at that school. But
the problem is he's going to be somewhere else now, and he'll be doing that to other students. Yeah, you should know by now that if there's a choice between their ideology and their sanity, or ideology and reason, or even kindness, even human dignity, they always choose the ideology.
Which brings to mind the question, will he be working at other schools? It's really sad and really icky timing, because you think about the members of law enforcement who were laid to rest this past week. You have this son of a law enforcement member who is trying to honor his father, only to be berated and embarrassed by his substitute teacher.
Yeah, in front of everyone. That teacher seemed to not even know what he was talking about, but that's also nothing new.
Exactly, yeah. He didn't have a clue what he was talking about. He just decided to pick on that one student. Because bear in mind, if he had the three letters of the usual organisations, you know, the woke organisations from the Summer of Love, can you remember that? It wouldn't be a problem, no problem at all. But because the boy, whose father is a police officer, chose to wear the thin blue line, all of a sudden it's an issue, yeah. And that substitute teacher knew exactly what he was doing. That's why he was very loud. He was doing it in front of all of the other students. He wanted to make him feel alone. He wanted to make that student feel dumb. He wanted to make that student feel shamed for supporting his father and his father's profession. And not only that, it happened in the week where those two officers unfortunately didn't make it in that bad attack. I'm trying to choose my word carefully because you know it's YouTube, in New York. So very poor timing, very crass, very insensitive from the oh so tolerant brigade.
I want you guys to hear, this is from the student who was berated by that teacher and his mom on what unfolded in the classroom.
I was sitting down doing my work, and he sat in the desk behind me. He told me it was not a real American flag. He kept saying that it's un-American.
So he went and deliberately sat in the chair behind the student. So you could tell that there was an inclination to do something, yeah, because he's obviously gone and sat behind him, and he's thinking, oh, you know, he was like psyching himself up. He was thinking, oh, I'm gonna mess with this student, yeah. Because he's wearing a thin blue line mask, I'm going to go and mess with him, yeah? That's what he was obviously thinking.
Everybody is just extremely shocked and obviously angry and pretty heartbroken that this is even an issue, that he had to deal with this, but at the same time, proud that he reacted the way that he did, and he stood up for what he's so passionate about and what he believes in.
And that is probably what aroused the attentions of the teacher, because he's obviously standing up for something he believes in that the teacher doesn't believe in. So the teacher sees it as or quote unquote teacher sees it as like a potential threat to his classroom authority.
That is excellent. You know, Sean, we talk about parents getting radicalized. It looks like students are getting radicalized. I love that they both were comfortable in front of a camera, that this kid was proud. We want to get you a few more.
I think that was a bit of a stupid thing for her to say. I wouldn't say that he's radicalized, the student, For what? For a thin blue line? Is that what? I'm not entirely sure what she meant by that. But if she did, that was a poor choice of words and something I personally disagree with.
More details about what's happening on the left coast as well, with students stepping out on this. Is this good news? I think it is across the country.
Well, it is good news because first we have parents who are actually teaching their kids to stand up and fight for freedom, which, by the way, it's interesting that we're actually having a lot of Americans ask their government to give them their freedom back. God actually gave us our freedom. God made us free. We shouldn't ask our government to give it to us, number one. But what I think is interesting is...
You don't need to. That's the thing. This is getting at the heart. I've said this on numerous videos I've made, yeah. And it's not just America. It's all over the place, here in Britain as well. But it's a specifically Western culture, Western Hemisphere, the West issue, in that the governments have become so complacent and so, yeah, complacent's the best word for it, yeah, that blasé, you could also use the word blasé to describe them, but they've become so complacent that they've forgotten what their job is as a government. They see themselves as an actual ruling class. They've forgotten that they're meant to be public servants, but it's lost on them, yeah. They've forgotten that they are meant to serve the will of the public. They seem to take the opinion that the public are there to serve their will and to adopt their identity. That seems to be where it's gone in the West, and it is the biggest failing and it has the potential for catastrophe.
You have this scenario where you have this, leftist teacher who's actually an idiot. By the way, I don't know how he graduated from a teacher's college.
He graduated because he was well steeped in left-wing ideology. That's the only reason. That's the only... It doesn't... Look, these are the people who think that 2 + 2 = 5. Can you remember that? Can you remember all of that moronic... well, actually, 2 + 2 =... If anyone says that, rip up their teaching qualification. Just rip it up immediately.
But these are leftists, and we used to think back in the 70s and 80s and 90s when some of us went to high school, these are not the same teachers. These have been radicalized teachers in the teachers' colleges, and they've now come into the classroom and they're espousing these radical Marxist beliefs to our kids.
Yes, that's it.
And I mean, listen, I don't know how you deal with this. It's going to take, I think, generations to deal with the school system.
Well, it took them generations to get where they were, okay? Slowly but surely, they pushed the goalposts. They pushed the envelope back, taking as they went, right? It's a culture war. You've heard the phrase yourself, a culture war. But for the longest time, the only people who even knew they were fighting in it was the left. The right, the political right, just wanted to be left alone. They just wanted to be left alone to live their lives, but the left won't do that, right? And that's what we've been saying for a long time, yeah? So... in my opinion, one way to fix this issue, or at least try to fix this issue, is to employ more conservative teachers. Get conservative teachers into the field. If not, then I know in America homeschooling is very big. Maybe consider homeschooling.
The teachers, if you have the funding and the resources in a school near you, go to a classical education. Get your kids out of the public school. Ask your parents or aunts and uncles to help out and save your kids by getting them out of this garbage, because it's penetrating the minds of young kids and destroying, I think, our future.
Well, and the good news is, Joe, I want everybody to watch this. We've got some video of kids who were blocked in a gym because they refused to wear a mask. There were these tables up at the doors. You're going to see this. And also, they've alleged that then an adult, a teacher or a member of staff, turned off the heat to freeze them out. Do we have that?
Now, they don't have the footage for this. I'm not saying it didn't happen. It could happen. But if this didn't happen, it should show you the sign of the times we're in, that people could, and it wouldn't be their fault, but people could believe that, and it could happen, couldn't it? After everything we've seen over the last 2 years or more, do you really think it's that big of a stretch for teachers to do something like that? They've already taken, you've seen yourself, you saw it on this clip. They've already taken a very antagonistic approach to their own students. Yeah?
I think we have that video. Can we see that? All right, well, it's all over the internet. I guess we don't have the actual video there. There are pictures up. And I guess the thermostat issue is being debated about whether or not that occurred.
See, that's what I mean. Like, so she doesn't really nobody really knows, right? It's just something we've heard, yeah, that they were turning the thermostat down to freeze them out. If it isn't true, you can't be held responsible for thinking it was, because of the track record that these teachers have. And if it is true, I'm not surprised. It doesn't surprise me. It's exactly what I would expect them to do.
But Joe, here you've got videos like that, you've got accusations like that, and then I think we have video of some of the kids storming out of one of those classrooms and of the school on the West Coast. So can we see that?
Some idiot on the
That would be
computers.
great.
Yeah.
All right.
And we're all walking into the school with no mask on.
You know that in the production office in that Fox News on the panel thing, there was someone desperately smashing the keys. The computer probably froze up, so they're like, "Oh, just get a video, get any video up."
You can get me in trouble, they can suspend me, I don't care. We're done with this. And obviously all of you are too. We want this to be a peaceful, respectful movement. We are just trying to gain back our rights as citizens.
Wow, now you see, Joe, I mean...
That's good. I saw that clip on Twitter, and I actually had quite a lot of respect for that young man. They've cut the end off. Not that it misses the context or anything like that, because he said it wants to be a peaceful movement. But the end of that clip, he says that if they hassle you or if they bother you, just don't rise to the bait. Just go home. That's what he said. Just go back to your house. And I thought that was pretty sound logic. Well thought through plan.
And this is what we're talking about. That kid, very, very good. Kind of radicalized, but isn't this the American...
See, she's done it again. Like, kind of... What do you mean radicalized? What do you expect people to do? What do you mean kind of radicalized? He's radicalized for what? For not going along with it? Would that mean that you're radicalized as well? Because you're saying the same thing he is. So this woman, she irritates me a lot of the time, this woman here. She's got to get it in. Do you know what I mean? She's got to, like, push. I think she's not controlled opposition, but I think that she is questionable. Because you can see every now and again she lets little things out like, oh, well, they're radicalised. How are they radicalised? Radicalised by who? And for what reason? For what? Because they want their old lives back?
American spirit?
I'd say that video is worth waiting for, Tammy, so
Yeah.
I'm glad you pressed for it. It is the American spirit. It's also the American sentiment, right? So there's a poll out today. 70% of Americans, 7 in 10, said, okay, we're done with COVID. We just need to learn to live with that. That is a drastically different number than where we were even a couple of months ago. And it seems like every day I got to see a photo or photos of some Democratic politician or some member of a teachers union or some members of a school board or some state senator who is out with their friends. They're at like the Double Deuce or the Peach Pit. They're socializing without a mask. Rules for thee, not for these.
And they keep getting caught doing it, right? And then they lament when nobody trusts them. I reckon in their heart of the hearts, I think they do know the reason why people don't trust them. But a lot of them, they lament. They're like, oh, well, people don't trust us. It must be Joe Rogan's fault. Oh, it's those conservative commentators' fault. You know, if people don't trust you, it's your fault. If people didn't trust me, it's my fault. And I understand and accept that, right?
D's as in Democrats. And then the next day, they're demanding your kid, my kid, they have to wear a mask for hours on end. We're in our third year of this, all in the name of public safety. My kindergartner doesn't remember a time, Tammy, from preschool on up until now where he hasn't worn a mask at school. Think about that. And
it gets worse because I remember seeing a post from a young mum on Twitter, and she was saying that her child was at the age where they start painting pictures or drawing pictures and that. Well, the child was drawing pictures of people, like a family herself, as they do, but there was no facial features. There was just two eyes. There was nothing here. If I had a child and my child was starting to draw people with no facial features because they've been covered up through some of their most important years of development, I would panic and I'd be very angry.
is happening, by the way, and this is the data and the science that we're told to follow, as COVID cases are plummeting across the country. In Loudoun County, Virginia alone, the epicenter of this mass fight, where there's a population of more than 400,000 people, they're averaging about 200 cases per day. And I asked Alexa to figure it out for me, and that's 0.06 of the population. Public health, protecting teachers and kids. Right.
You know, Alicia, I'll give you the last word on this, because with all these kids having, you know, they're pushing back now. They're seeing it on TikTok. They're seeing it on social media. This is really giving some permission to the kids to take, you know, a stand against what they think is unfair.
Tammy, also, keep in mind, 3 weeks ago, there were kids who were protesting in cities saying they didn't feel protected enough from COVID. So you have kids also protesting the mask. So the message I'm hearing, the kids don't trust the adults to take care of business, and they're frustrated regardless of the side that they're on. Yeah, there you go. And of course, it's about...
That could be the case. I personally don't believe that. I believe that what she was saying herself about the kids who were demanding more, you know, more face coverings. We don't feel protected from it. That's a failing. In one way, she's right. That's a failing of the adults, because these are people who look to the adults for everything. Yeah, and they're looking towards adults for a cure to something that they don't need to worry about. And I'll leave it there, right? You're looking in the wrong place for a cure you don't need, yeah? If you haven't yet, by all means, subscribe to the Hoggcast, hit the notification bell and share the video around. I'll leave it there. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.